March of 1971, that's when I began working for Clinchfield at what they call Birchfield Mines. And I, really liked mining once I got into it, and because my father had always been a miner, and so I guess it was just sort of in my blood. It was a closeness, reminding you of the service, of the friends that you had, and the closeness that you had with the people you work with. One Monday morning, I went in to drill a hole to put in roof bolts, and rocks started dribbling behind. And so my buddy that I was working with, he sounded the top and sounded drummy, and so he run, but all I could do was just lean forward, and the rock fell across my shoulders, and it crushed 5 of my vertebrae, and it split my ribs. I didn't know how seriously I was injured except for the pain, until when it was getting the rock off of me, dragging me out, and I seen a new pair of boots coming along, and I didn't realize they was mine. It sort of shocked me then that I couldn't feel my legs. I've been out right at 10 years. Right at 10 years that I've been out of line. I got a letter from Pittston that stated that as of February the 1st, 1988, health benefits that we are providing under this contract will no longer be provided. These issues will be taken up during the upcoming negotiations with the union. They weren't responsible for insurance or anything, and so I just so angry about it. I got up about 3 o'clock in the morning, and it a lot of aggravation for me to get up at night too, because I got to go through a lot of things and have a lot of trouble putting my clothes on. So, and I went to the table and I wrote a letter to the editor. That's how I first became involved. I used to think that Pittston was one of the best to work for, and in fact took great pride in the way I was treated after my disabling injury. It seems now they believe their obligation has come to an end simply because they decided to so. If only they could also undo the pain and suffering of all the miners who died in their mines, their families and the families of the disabled, both which have to bear this burden for the rest of their lives. When human lives and needs can be thrown aside as easily as a worn-out piece of machinery, then that ain't right. That just ain't right.
There was this quote that came from a vice president of Pittston who said that they were doing away with the medical benefits because it was like when you had a credit card and the credit card had expired. And I think for people around here who know people who are sick because of things that happened to them working 30 and 40 years in the mine, medical benefits means caring for the people that you care about, and those people who are struggling to breathe, getting help. Why the strike was the contract had run out. Why the strike took on its particular intensity was the whole deal about fooling around with health benefits of the older people and the widows and people who are sick.
Pittston thought they'd get by with it. They thought they could get by with it. And this head man in, Greenwich, Connecticut, he didn't know anything about these people back here. He didn't know how close-knit they was. He didn't know how they'd stick together. And he just thought, well, he could sit up there in his office and run this place down here, but I believe they found out a little different. They can replace you, but there's one thing about it, they can't get rid of you.
The day they come out on a strike, I said, well, I just might as well to get into something. I did. I started dancing. I got with these boys here. I like the way they pick and play. You can keep up with their music pretty good. And I just got interested. Do what I can, all I can to help.
What do you think about while you're dancing? Ooh.
Well, I think when I dance, I like to get a hold of them scabs and stomp on them a little bit. I go on the picket line every day, and I came down here and dance at night, and that eased me. to get rid of a lot of my problems that I've had through the day. It's in me, I reckon. It's in the bloodstream. It is a protest, absolutely. Making music, running coal, or whatever, mechanicking, or that's what I do. I'm a mechanic at the mines. All of it binds into one, all of it.
First time I ever read the contract that Pittston proposed to the union, it was totally 180 degrees opposite in every respect. Paragraph by paragraph by paragraph. It wasn't one thing, it was everything. In other words, we're junking this contract for good. But the big thing was, I think for both sides, was the pension fund. The first time I ever met him, Mr. Farrell, who was vice president of the company, pounded the table. And he said, "Now, Judge, you can talk to us from now till doomsday, and we can talk from now till doomsday, but we will never, 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 never go back into that health fund again."
Well, what's at issue is the union will not accept change. There have been 80,000 coal miners who have lost their job in this decade. We feel that it's time to change and try a new style proposal. We think our proposal will put people back to work rather than continue the job losses that have occurred. But what we require is flexibility to operate our mines and manage our assets to change with the world market.
You don't want to think every day of your life that your husband's going to go out there and you may not see him come back home again. You know, you just don't want to have to worry about that. And to me, that's what the union has always meant to me, is protection for Bethel's job so he would continue to have a job, and protection for his life, for safety in the workplace. I am a poor Appalachian coal miner. My days are darker than most nights. No guarantees when I retire. I have been stripped of all my rights. I got a hard, fast education about where our government is coming from. Why did they send in the state troopers? Why did they send in federal marshals? The state troopers pretty much stayed back away from us here. They didn't get involved too much here in West Virginia. But in Virginia, where you have right to work, they were terrible. They were awful. First time Bethel went down there was 500 state trooper cars parked there. They couldn't even find a place to stay overnight.
Well, you see, they've got a right to work law in Virginia. Lord, I'd love to see that thing done away with. But just as soon as a company has a strike, that's the first thing they ask for, is support from the state. And of course, that's what they rely on, is state troopers.
I believe in what I'm doing, and if it takes every day till we get a contract, we'll be here. That's our job. Our jobs. And we don't want no scabs. It's our jobs, our town. The union's here to stay. Our town, the union's here to stay.
Had a job like that, I'd quit it. Worse than a scab.
Nothing worse than a scab.
State police is.
They right there with
They're worse than the scabs ever got to be.
That's right.
It's where your tax money is going.
Sometimes you can get into the South and sort of think it's a monolith, and we know from that Appalachia's is different. But I even think Virginia is different. And it has to do with the bird machine and this notion of control and the better people. And it also has to do with the relationship of this area, Southwest Virginia, which has always been Virginia's stepchild. You know, we are not valued very much in Southwest Virginia. But the stereotypes and the beliefs about what kind of people are out here is very fundamental. And it particularly offends sort of notions of gentility.
Okay, I'll pat it down real quick. Yes, I see you hell one of you stupid bastards!
Get her cursing view. I think you should. You okay, bro?
Every time that there's a strike and you start up Interstate 81, which I've done on a few occasions, and I would meet just strings and strings of troopers' cars with their clothes hanging in the back, and it's a sort of a syndrome that we have in Southwest Virginia. We feel like that people in Richmond thinks the state ends, except when they want to come down here and impose martial law.
Well, I grew up union. Dad, well, my father, helped organize the union here in Country Club in 1944. And so I was always in a union home. You had togetherness, camaraderie, the oath that you take when you join the union. You'll not do a brother wrong or see a brother wronged. You don't appreciate it until you go through something that really makes you think back, what these men really did go through.
Slate fell on him, got mashed up in the coal mine. And my dad never could work anymore. And about 1931, the company put us out of their house and sold our furniture for back rent. My mom didn't get a dime out of it. So she raised us kids walking to Clinchco and keeping house for $5 a week. Of course, we had a little farm and we raised a lot of stuff. And my dad finally had to take his bed, and if he'd lived from March till September, he would have laid in the bed 10 years before he died. I guess that's one reason that I'm kind of bitter against coal companies. There was men come from West Virginia, Kentucky, Buchanan County, and tried to organize this place. Of course, the coal companies are like they are now. They had the upper hand for all the law enforcement in Virginia is against labor. I understand that Virginia at that time had 150 state police. They had 110 of them down here in Clinchco. Number 9 Bridge, the Union members was on the other side of the river. So one morning, Colonel Battle walked up on that bridge, drawed a line with his foot. He said, the first damn man that crosses that line, said, we'll blow him into hell. And he pointed back behind him on a hill and they had 4 machine guns sitting up on that hill. And I honestly believe if a man had crossed that line, I believe he'd have killed him. So that's the kind of trouble we had here about organizing.
Dark clouds are rising, sure sign of rain.
The men wouldn't be drove around like bank mules after they organized. And I've worked in mines where they use mules, and they are badly abused. And the coal miner was too. But after we were organized, then things started changing, and changing for the better. I like all unions, for you do have a chance to stand up for yourself.
Right, you sit down road block a coal truck. You hold a coal truck up, 30 minutes. How much money is the company losing on that 30 minutes, that one truck? Nothing. But, I mean, it was just a symbol. Just say, we're here. Talk to us. Let's get this settled. That was the purpose of it. Come on, let's. We're here. We're not leaving. We're staying right here. And we found out, the laws didn't look at it that way, did they?
The real reason we're here is just to enforce the law, and the fact that Virginia has a right to work law, and people have a right to work, people have a right to strike. So we're neutral. We're here to protect all citizens.
Everybody, do not resist being arrested. I repeat, do not resist. This is civil disobedience. This is peaceful resistance.
Bus is full. Yeah, it's kind of full. I don't lie, buddy. That's one thing I don't do, lie.
If two parties will sit down earnestly and talk and negotiate, things can be settled. They can be solved. But the way things are set up with the laws are, the companies don't have to negotiate. They can sit back, bring in replacement workers, whatever. You can strike, but you can go home and sit on strike for 10 years, but you have to sit at home. You can't do anything. So the way the right to work law has it set up, if you strike, you just quit your job.
Yeah, we're gonna win. We're gonna fight the hell out of them. Is what we're gonna do. We're gonna be here.
What do these state police down here?
The company sent for them, and they're gonna stay. And they're escorting them and working them just like dogs. I hope they shovel belt this evening. Scabby damn state.
Dirty. It's labor law. They're enforcing their version of the law, and we're sitting here enforcing their version. No violence, boys. Keep the faith.
The right to work law is a product of a larger piece of legislation called the Taft-Hartley law. Unions sometimes get a lot of grief about why they aren't doing things the way that they used to do them in the 30s, and I think you would find that a lot of things they did in the 30s were made explicitly illegal by the Taft-Hartley law. After the war, there was a lot of turmoil going on. There were some strikes and there were some other things, and there was a lot of fear of labor, and particularly one particular person, a lot of fear of John L. Lewis, who is regarded as the devil incarnate by Southern politicians.
300,000 odd men made victims. Some died, more than 6,000. Some lived blind, some with twisted backs, loss of limbs, paralyzed bodies, broken bones, the flesh burned off of their faces until they're grinning specters of men by gas explosion. We want the welfare fund for them. At the cost of this industry, a charge on the cost of production. If we must grind up human flesh and bones in the industrial machine that we call modern America, then before God I assert that those who consume the coal, and you and I who benefit from that service because we live in comfort, we owe protection to those men first, and we owe the security for their families if they die. I say it, I voice it, I proclaim it, and I care not who in heaven or hell opposes it. That's what I believe about that.
There was a period of time where judges were very heavily involved in injunctions, and then there was a brief period of time where they were supposed to be out of it by the Norris LaGuardia. Taft-Hartley put them back in, put federal courts back in terms of enforcing its provisions. The final part about the right to work law enabled each state to pass laws whereby union membership was not a precondition for employment, where you did no longer have union shops. And they cast it in the terms of, helping the worker's right to belong to what he wanted to belong to, and that is still, there's something called the Right to Work Foundation, but, the real issue here is, what sectors of the economy and what regions were going to be unionized. And I think that southern states, right to work is sacred. All the southern states have right to work laws. The ironies of it, if you look at it and all the, in the greater scheme of things, that this whole southern strategy of attracting industry, now it's gone really south, And so some of the gimmicks that southern states use, like lousy unemployment compensation system, lousy safety for workers, and all this other stuff that they were supposed to attract, well, the industries, they aren't stopping, they're going elsewhere.
Well, the National Right to Work Committee has 1.8 million members nationwide. The one thing they all have in common is they believe that union membership and union dues should be voluntary. Now, we've been involved in monitoring and publicizing some of what's gone on in strikes like the Pittston strike and other strikes such as that, because what you have is violence and terror being used to intimidate workers who don't go along with what the union wants. Well, I want to show you some of the examples of what's happened.
January the 22nd, after Round Creek Coalfields had been issued a federal injunction, UMWA pickets still controlled the company's bridge, in violation of the federal injunction.
In this case, they had to bring in federal marshals in order to enforce the law because the state authorities did nothing about it. They understood state law to be that the state police could not interfere in a labor dispute. Now, most reasonable people would say that what we're seeing here is not a labor dispute, it's terrorism, it's intimidation, it's goon behavior. And if I were a union member, I'd be ashamed to see this kind of behavior, because this isn't what unions should be about. Unions should be about protecting the rights of workers, not about threatening people and their lives and their property because they disagree with what you're doing.
Marshals are shoving them out of the way. Cor's done hit the ground. Mike's just walking over top of it. U.S. Marshals do have their right sticks. They are prepared for whatever comes along.
Hey, no. Hey, you too? You're under arrest. Hey, you're getting off the ground. Hey, you want to arrest somebody? Back off. Don't resist. Don't resist. I'm not resisting. Okay, just go and get your hands off of me. I will. That's their job. Steady step there. It ain't their job to put them around.
I mean, if one person lays down in the middle of the road, a little old lady lays down in front of a coal truck and the police come in and take her away. Well, no one is going to feel threatened by that. But when you have mobs of people who are dressed in military fatigues, who have masks on their faces, and they come down and they surround your vehicle. You know, things like that happen on union picket lines are sufficient to have the desired effect of making people turn around and not go to their jobs.
Whose jobs are they?
Well, that's a pretty deep question. If my employer finds somebody who can do my job better than I can, there's no guarantee that I'm going to continue to have a job. And none of us can be guaranteed of that. No one can guarantee me or you or anyone else a job.
I was raised in a union family, just like a big oak tree planted. Well, you know, you're just planted, you're not going anywhere. No matter what they do in Connecticut or what these big companies say or what these lawyers and the damn government says, well, I don't think we'll leave.
Well, we're in support of our families.
We walked out of school today in support of our families.
Exactly right. Miners went to jail here yesterday, I'd say, as y'all already well know, and
They're bringing more in.
They're bringing more in. We just feel like we need to support them, get public support behind them. I think that means a lot. Job security's on the line here. Without a contract, without job security, you can't work for scabs.
We showed up for school and they'd been arrested the day before. Everybody was just emotionally moved, and we walked out. We kind of felt like we was union, sticking together, you know. You take up for me, I'll take up for you. That's just what a union is to me. I don't know what the camouflage actually. The miners come out and they wore it, you know, on the picket lines. We picked it up and we wore it. Everybody wore it, and it was union sympathizer.
We have a right as Americans, as students, to support our families in a time of need. Pittston has turned it into what it is, and we have the right to fight.
Without the UMWA, they can put you in unsafe mining conditions.
Any hours.
It would go back to slave labor.
Go back to labor that is unfair. That's why the union was formed, to pull it together.
If it's not for the union, the non-union would work for slave labor. There would be no mines. The union does set a standard.
And if this union fails, it's it for unions all around.
We're protesting because we're from the mountains. This is Southwest Virginia. This is King Coal country.
Pensioners, retirees, trying to take their benefits if they worked for it all their life, you know. Sure, it was a war. It was us against them. Big business, big companies, you know.
Amazing grace, how sweet the
when there would be a strike in the coal industry, the big action would be fought out in state court with state court injunctions under Virginia's right to work law. But the problem as presented to me, and the reason that I did enter the injunction in the case, was over the fact that the state court injunction was doing absolutely no good. There had been probably somewhere between 11 and 1,500 arrests. The General District Court judges had all recused themselves in Russell County and Dickinson County, which were the primary counties involved. The Commonwealth Attorney of Russell County and the Commonwealth Attorney of Dickinson County recused themselves of prosecuting the cases, so there was no prosecutor, there was no court. And not only that, there was all this mass of state troopers who were brought into the area. They were mostly from Eastern Virginia. They turned around and went back to Eastern Virginia. When the cases did come up for trial, the witnesses didn't show up.
The coalfield assignment is just not a good assignment. There's no question that the morale is not quite as good when someone is on the way out here for an assignment as it is when they're on the way home.
The people would make bond and come right back and do the same act again. The state court judge had already at that time entered into huge fines which weren't being paid and weren't being enforced. Where you're dealing with a massive amount of people ignoring of a court order, which to me was a terrible thing. If you enter a court order and it's not enforced, then the very foundations of the country is the very basis of law is gone.
No doubt it came from the civil rights struggle that Martin Luther King had begun, and I happened to be the 2000th arrest. Even though I was very scared about it, didn't know how the state police would handle it and where I went, if they had a bathroom I could get in. So I had a lot of worries, but I know that the cause is right and I was willing to do it. If we were fined $1 million a day for sitting in the road or whatever, violating that, how much should Pittston be fined for taking away health care from a man and having that worry on him, what was going to happen to his wife and who was going to pay his bills? How much should a company be fined a day that did that to a man,
It's wrong for me to go sit in the road, but it's not wrong for this company to cut off my daddy's ability to go to the doctor. I mean, and they made equations. People here looked at their ordinary notion of justice and said, look, there's something just wrong here. Law does not necessarily mean justice.
Keep on talking the business. They're gonna let straight police turn us around, turn us around, turn us around. They're gonna let state police turn us around. We're gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, gonna build a brand new world.
If Pittston can jettison 6,000 pensioners, the rest of the industry's already told us that they will jettison 130,000 pensioners when next we negotiate. It's so stark here that we said enough is enough, no more. If Pittston can break its social contract with the mine workers here and do it openly in violation of the labor laws of the country, if they can do it here with the mine workers, then any employer anywhere can do it to any worker.
The contention that this company has been mismanaged is ludicrous, recognizing that we are not an isolated island protected from the rest of the world's competition. There are major countries that are gearing up to produce coal and compete with us. Australia, Colombia, Venezuela, South Africa, Russia, Poland. These are all countries that produce and are our major competitors when we go to sell a ton of coal. I challenge the union to present any coal company that they are affiliated with whose stock has doubled in the last 5 years, and ours has.
There were some people in Cardiff, Wales, a group of community people. They said to tell the people in Southwest Virginia that money has no conscience and greed has no heart. And if you depend upon those people in that company to have a conscience and a heart, you're going to lose this strike. That's what they said. This is a song from a working man in Wales for the working people here in Virginia. It's about an old man who had black lungs. Another night fighting for breath, roll on the day. It hurts so bad you wish for death, roll on the day, roll on the morning, roll on the day. I hear the old man softly praying, roll on the day.
In the summer, The National Labor Relations Board engaged in a hearing that was over complaints that the union was making against Pittston, which were the cause of the strike. And they were claiming that there were unfair labor practices. And they deserved a decision on that. It's never been decided to this day. They had a little electrical disturbance up there that shut the lights off, and they adjourned until October. Now, this was early July, mind you.
Obviously, law and order has to be restored in the area. We're cooperating fully with the appropriate state and federal officials in dealing with this latest act of violence by the union.
Okay.
It doesn't make any difference if we're in here or if we're out there. They're going to do something to try to fine us or put us in jail. No matter where we're at or what we're doing, if there's not a law already against it, they go see Glenn Williams and Jim McLaughlin. They've made our legal right to strike almost ineffective. And now, you know, I think we're doing pretty good. And we are being effective.
Oh, yeah, your wife just called, said that everything's fine at home, everything's great. She's behind you 100%. She loves you, Paul.
You know, we're the people that's getting the attention, but that's where the power is out there. We love them all.
I wish everybody had a view like this. I tell you what, we love you all too, and we're going to stick together and we're going to fight this one way or the other.
He's only 46 years old, and he has spent 21 years at this one particular place. And it's kind of hard to see somebody else take your job that you have worked for 21 years. I mean, we have a kid in college, we still have a kid in high school, and a kid that would like to go to college, but right now is on hold. So, I mean, it's pretty hard to stand back and just, you know, say, oh, well, let them have the job. I'm going to be peaceful and I'm not going to do anything. That's not reality. You fight for what you believe in and for your way of life. And the ones who gave up parts of their body and their lungs and whatever for the company, and they were guaranteed for years that they would be taken care of. And there has been some deaths since this strike for the simple fact people cannot get their medical attention. They cannot get their medications. It's sad, but it is a reality.
We're not asking for anything extravagant. We're asking for the basic needs of every worker, man or woman in this country deserves. Just job security, protection for our retirees, that they can enjoy life when they retire.
Coming up the road, you didn't know really what was going to be waiting on you. I was shaking like, hey, I was shaking in my boots.
The guys in the back couldn't see nothing, you know, in the back of the vans. And when we pulled up, we could see all there was. The gate was open and 2 guards.
So we come running in.
100 of us jumped out, and what are they going to do? You know, they either shoot us or they get out of the way. They got out of the way. And we came on in.
Do you think there's a possibility somebody might have got shot?
I thought there'd be 5 or 6 of us get shot before we got across that bridge. When they talk about cutting retirees, they ain't talking about strangers. They're talking about our uncles and our grandfathers, and we lived in the same area generation after generation. The man next door ain't no stranger. You know, he's your uncle or your brother-in-law, or you went to school with him, or you went to school with his brother. They're not strangers. They ain't talking about strangers. They're talking about family.
So you all been pretty tight all along.
You have to be. They don't care what color their slaves are. They don't care if they're black, if they're white. The slave's a slave to them. Work you till you die and then give you the bare minimum to exist until you are dead. And then who gives a damn, you know, when you're no longer useful.
So what do you reckon's going to be the end here? What's going to happen?
Right here, state police going to come take us to jail one of these days.
The thing that Pittston doesn't understand is we own this coal here in these hills. It belongs to us. It belongs to the people, and it's for the good of the people, not Paul Douglas and Joe Farrell. It's for the good of the people down here.
After we came out of the prep plant, it seemed like things just died. Wind just went out of the sails. I've heard some people say the reasons why. I don't know if they're true or not. But we do know that Trump and Douglas were meeting in Canada while we were in the prep plant. What they met about, what they discussed, no one knows. But at that time, that's when my father got sick, right after we came out of the prep plant and went into the hospital. And so I stayed with him pretty much at the hospital until he passed away.
When we've been there 10,000 years, when we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we know this day to sing God's praise. And when we first begun.
They say they have the right to work and to cross picket lines, but down deep in their hearts, they know they're doing wrong. They can say what they want to. But I think they know they're doing wrong, because if they didn't, when they walked by, they wouldn't drop their heads.
I don't feel like I took their damn job. I feel like that they walked off. If a man walks off and leaves his job in a state that has the right to work law, then that guarantees me that, hey, I've got a shot of getting a job over there.
The money, the right to work law, it's a job I had before I come here. Can't make it on $5 an hour is what I was making. I tried that for a year and a half. That don't work.
The right to work, the right to have a job, have a paycheck to feed your family, that's an individual right. If you're a young, talented individual, you don't benefit from a seniority system, because seniority says that no matter how talented you are, if somebody's been there a day longer than you, that person is always ahead of you for a promotion. Now, there's nothing wrong with seniority. There is a lot of value in people who have put time in. But from the point of view of the individual who's new and young and talented and is in competition with someone else who's older, who may be equally talented, it's something unfair that says that it's not going to be talent, but it's going to be seniority that makes the decision. We have a vision of a workplace and a labor law that says that you do what you want, that we don't see workers only in the plural, because workers are in the singular. Everybody's a worker, and everybody has his own idea of what's good for him or her. And what you think is good for you, what I think is good for me, we should be free to do it as we see fit, and there's no way I should be able to force you to fit in my mold.
The community has rights and values. If my neighbor down here come and ask me to help him, I should go help him. And if I ask him to come and help me, he should come and help me. And that's how we should live. The better of the community should be more important than the better of oneself. If this whole community does good, and say I have to suffer because of it, personally, then that's right. That's how it should be. Whereas if you have scabs coming in, they're flourishing while the community goes down. Yeah, they do the community, they do everybody wrong. Replacement workers.
Victory. Victory.
This is nothing new to me. We just work out from contract to contract, and then we lose everything we got, get another contract.
We want to thank Pittston for bringing us closer.
That's one thing it did.
Hey, it brought us all real tight. Hey, we're great shape here. And it's going to stay like this now. We're not going to fade away no more.
because this here has learned us. We will stay together. Overall, we had over 4,000 arrests through this strike. And the courts have seen that to best the union, they had to best us. They had to take every one of us. And that's one reason that you're seeing things that's happening today. Hopefully that the contract, we've not saw it yet, but hopefully it's what we want. And that's the fruits of making a stand and not being scared off, not letting the judges, the courts, and all, the state police, federal marshals, not let them scare us off.
Like this fella here, we couldn't have done it without him. I mean, Dick, when we went to St. Paul,
we didn't do much.
But they done a lot to help us. People all over the country. I think the justice system's really has not realized that they said it was going to be neutral, and yet we got fined $64 million, and it's almost impossible to fine us for something in that order. And we've never been proven guilty for any of these situations.
I'm 63 years old. I have never even had a parking ticket and drove all my life. I've been to jail twice, and I'm willing to go back again if that's what it takes.
Does anybody win whenever you have a 9-10 month strike? I don't think you can classify anybody as winners in a 9 or 10 month strike. We should have been able to negotiate that contract. The labor laws in this country are designed for working people to lose.
It's a good contract. It's good for the communities, our employees, the company, the industry. It's our objective to return operations to full production as quickly as possible and once again restore Pittston to its position as the largest exporter of coal in America.
I had grave doubts that half of the fines that I had imposed would have stood up. So why have it dilly-dally and go up into higher court? I struck it off. And then I reduced it some more beyond that. And then I imposed the community service. One day we were working down there on cleaning the river. I said, you're my people. When the people you live with are suffering, if there's anything to you, you suffer.
This is not justice. I mean, I don't mind helping with the community and everything, but the way it turned out, I don't call this justice. I'm 60 years old, and after this is over, I'm gonna have to go job hunting. So anyway, I retired whether I wanted to or not.
We just wanted to have a fair, just contract and live with dignity. Where's Pittston at? Running coal, I guess. Wouldn't you say? Making money.
We've got plenty of law. Plenty of law. We have no justice.
You're damn right they owe us something. You're daggone right, we've made them millions, this community has, and what do we have to show for it? But people out of work now. I work in the mines, in the non-union mines. Sure, I'd like to be union, but can't be.
With your children, would you want them to go into the mines?
No.
How come?
No. It's just no place. It's just rough. you know, dangerous, hard work. No, I wouldn't want them to go in the mines. Which I was always told not to go in the mines. You know, I think everybody's told not to go in the mines, but somebody has to.
So where does it end?
When all the coal's left here, they won't worry about us anymore. We'll go back and make it like we did before. That's when it's over, when every lump of coal's gone.
Are you talking about justice of the laws of the country or internal justice, you know, your own peace? What kind of justice are you talking about?
Both, I guess.
Well, we knew that the laws of the land is against the working man. They always have been. But internally, after the strike, I had peace of mind in one way because I knew that I did what I should have done. I feel that. I have no regrets for what I did through the strike. Well, I've changed occupations. I'm an animal control officer in the county. When they shut Lamb Fork down, I've never been recalled to the mines. I started for Pittston in 1971. I miss it. I still dream about it. Well, these mountains belong to the people. They always have, always will. If you ever want really to see something beautiful, fly over the coalfields in a helicopter or something and look how the companies have raped this land. It's enough to make you cry. But they're still our hills, always will be.
We, the people that mine the coal, are as much a part of these mountains as the seams of coal that lie in them. We have always been accommodating, independent people, but we, like all others, will not tolerate abuse, whether corporate or government. We demand that we be treated with dignity and respect, and that justice be applied equally. Certainly not an unreasonable question in the land of our heritage.
Our great and mighty Union stands unbroken still today. It's helped us through hard times before. We